Hey, what's up, Grace Point? Welcome to another edition of The Loop Plus. I'm coming to you live, except for you're watching a recording, from my house because it's Tuesday, it's snowing. But just wanted to let you know, we're going to be showing you our gathering time from Sunday night, where we gave a couple updates on our student pastor search, on our lead teaching pastor search, and the budget. One thing to know, our audio got a little messed up along the way, so it can be a little hard to hear at times, but I've gone ahead and dropped the slides in the episode description, in the comments, all that stuff. So that way you can see exactly what we're talking about there. But hope you enjoy it. We'll see you soon.
Welcome, everyone. Like I said, I'm Andrea Sullivan. I have the pleasure of kind of guiding our discussions tonight. Let's just start. Let's start with Michael. Will you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you're serving here at Grace Point?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Michael Hancock. My family and I have been here right at 4 years, actually. We moved up from outside of Austin, Texas. Absolutely love it here. Let's see, I co-lead 9th and 10th grade guys. Also co-lead a small group, if you will. And then, see, I'm on the interview panel team for the lead pastor search. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Michael's a big Texas A&M fan, so.
Can't go. All right, Lyndsey, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're right at the 4-year mark too, so
Good question.
my name's Lyndsey Barrett, and we came from Northern California. I hate to say that dirty C word, but that's where we are from. We moved here during COVID, have no regrets, love it. I serve here on the worship team, and I lead a small group, and serve on the core team, and trustees, and just a bunch of things. So, staff, we love it.
Yeah.
And then I'm Andrew Brown. I'm on staff here. I'm the operations pastor. Thanks, Rick. It's always very kind. But I've been up here for 8.5 years, and I started as the worship pastor and kind of went along the way. And so, yeah, I get to hang out in a lot of cool ways. My wife Stephanie and I, we lead a small group, and we're just around. So, yeah. Look at this crew right here in the front row.
They're a good cheering squad. We need
Just hecklers.
Right? All right, perfect. Well, so like I said, I'm Andrea Sullivan, and my husband Jeremy and I have been at Grace Point for about 9.5 years now, and we currently have the pleasure of serving in the men's and women's ministries, and we've kind of worked in a couple of different places along the way, and so glad to be here and give you all some updates. So I know we're all here and curious about where we're at as a church on search committees and finances, and these people are all right in the trenches, as are a lot of you. And so thank you for being here to hear these updates. And we're going to start with our youth search. So, and just kind of what's going on in our student ministries. And Michael, I know that you're really highly involved in that on Wednesdays, but also as part of a great team of people there. So just give us a little bit of updates on how things are going in the youth world.
Yeah, definitely. So, yes, we are still looking for a youth pastor. It's been a little different, I guess, of late with previous youth pastor. But not to say that it's been bad by any means, because we've had several people, members, elders, step in and lead, and that has honestly been great. Let's see, we have, I think, 20 to 30 leaders all amongst the church that step in and help lead the youth. And that's across like roughly 10 groups. So we have 10 different groups of both guys and girls groups. I think we average like 90 to 100 students every Wednesday. So it's absolutely amazing. Another couple of things I want to throw out there. I think there's, like I mentioned, we haven't had a leader, but we still have the Lord has been moving and Spirit has been moving in such a way that we can't explain, right? So I think just this school year alone, there's probably been 5 or 6 students that have been baptized. And just in November, we had, I think, 3 8th grade girls that were baptized. So absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Love to see the Spirit move. And then lastly, this year we started, I think, second service. There's roughly 30 students that go up into the loft and open up the Word and study Scripture together. So it's really beautiful to see the students come together, worshiping the Lord, and can worship the Lord and growing their faith in Christ.
Thank you for that. I know, Andrea, I think you even stepped in and helped with some of that teaching along the way, right?
Yeah, so it's been really cool. Like the team, so we have a family discipleship team that's led by Emily Lusk. She's back here in the back, but that team has done an incredible job of pouring into our students and keeping our student ministry moving forward. So Emily, Bailey, and Jenny Davis, they're back over here, have done some awesome stuff in there. Mackenzie and Russell, who serve on our kids team, but are still all over the place with it. And then really cool, actually, our friend Caleb King, you guys may have seen him around. He's been leading worship in there kind of through the fall, but he's going to actually take over student worship right now, which is really cool. And we're excited about that as well. It really is incredible. I got to teach in there a couple times in the fall, and it's really cool to see what God is doing in the lives of our students. And so even now, as we talk about that search and that process, Taylor's going to throw a slide up. It's a process that's been in place for a while as we've tried to figure out and navigate what that's going to look like. We've talked to over 100 people for this role, and it's a hard thing to figure out the right person in that role and the right person that's going to fit on that team. But we've been all over that. We've been doing when a candidate comes in, we have a set process that we work through. It's not as robust as what we do for the lead teaching pastor, but it is still pretty busy and pretty heavy. And just since January, we've been doing screening assessments and some staff interviews with a couple people on our staff to get them ready for an interview team. We've done 5 of those, and then we actually have a strong candidate that he's going to be going to a team interview here in the next couple weeks. So really feeling good, excited about the direction of that and the direction of our students in general. So, yeah.
That's great. Thank you for those updates. And I'm sure most of you know we have a group of those students going to Guatemala over spring break. So definitely be in prayer for the youth in general and the pastor search there, but also for that team that's going. So.
Yeah, and one weekend's next weekend. So, as a church, we're going to get to see our students front and center, which is going to be really cool.
Awesome. Thank you. As we all know, we're also on the search for a teaching pastor out this time. So we've heard a few updates on that, but can you give us a few more details there, Andrew, as well?
Yeah. So if you were here on Sunday morning last week, I did this in the service there. So I'm not going to go as in depth here, but the big thing that I want to point out is this is our process that we walk through with every candidate, and it's pretty robust, it's pretty thorough, but you can see kind of the numbers of candidates that we've had hit these different phases. When an application comes in, we do a quick vetting of them, and then we send them a pretty lengthy questionnaire that's filled out, and then they go before our core team, of which Lyndsey right here is a member, and they evaluate candidates, decide candidates to send on to interviews. And then once interviews are completed, the candidates go before a big group of people in the church who kind of review them, watch their teaching, all of that, before they drop to elders. And elders are kind of the final third of the process. The thing I'll share with you on that is we've had 4 candidates hit our elder body. 2 did site visits in early January. And while neither of those guys are who we're going to hire, we have another site visit scheduled with another guy here in 2 weeks, I think. It's the first week in March. So really looking forward to that, watching that go. I'm going to ask Taylor real quick to hit this next slide, because I want you to see that this is the group of people that are involved on our search team. It's 39 people. It's made up of staff, elders, and members in the church. And all of these people, which really neat, all of them have full access to the conversations around these candidates, and are able to see what's going on, are able to leave feedback, all that kind of stuff. And so it's a really cool process that involves a lot of people in our church to make happen.
Well, great. Thank you for that. I want to take a minute just to praise the Lord. I mean, over 100 candidates. I mean, people that are interested in coming here to be in our church. Thank you. Yes. What a blessing. That's pretty amazing. And then also, thank you to all of those people that are pouring so much time into this process. I want to hear from you, Lyndsey and Michael, both about just what that has looked like for you, and like you're a part of that team, and we thank you for that. So, Lyndsey, I'll let you go first. Just tell us a little bit of what that looks like.
Okay, so a peek under the hood of the core team. So when candidates drop for us, we kind of have three main things that we look at. We get to see the questionnaire that they filled out. Probably took them about an hour to fill out, so it's long, it's lengthy, there's a lot to it. Of course, there's a resume, those are kind of boring. And then there's like preaching samples where we can actually listen to them. And so it's been fascinating just to see how we each approach it, because we're all a little bit different. And like I geek out on that assessment. I want to see the personality type, and I was like how they're wired up. And I think it's really important that they're able to articulate what makes them hard to work with. And I'm like, if you can't articulate that, you don't have that self-awareness, I don't know, do we drop you to an interview or not? Or do I even want to listen to your preaching link, right? So, but then there's others of us that go right to the preaching. And so it's like really a cool just diversity, even within that core team, of how we each approach those three, sorting through it. So, yeah, so basically we get our crack at that, and then we meet once a week, and we hash it out. Like, we all have a written assessment, but then we hash it out verbally with each other, and then kind of like finalize, are we dropping this person off? Are we gonna move them forward? And that's really key for us, is that like when we're assessing, it's not like, is this the person? Because that's really easy to want to jump to the end like that, like, is this the person? It's more of, is this candidate worthy of the next conversation? And so trying to keep that at the forefront is really key, because there's a lot of technical, like, are they qualified? A lot of boxes to check. But then there's a lot of spiritual, like there's a spirit-ledness to it where it's like something's not jiving, but there's just some discernment that would have to kind of untangle at that stage.
Wow. I love that piece there, that spirit-led and discernment. I mean, I know that you are all being very, very prayerful through this process, and it's much appreciated. And it may seem a little lengthy to some of us, but I personally, as a member, appreciate the in-depth and the intentionality that you all are taking into.
I'll just add, when you go through this for any amount of time, you like think to yourself, do we want to go through this again in 2 years? Like, you don't want to get it wrong, right? So it's worth the time. It's worth it.
To get the right person that the Lord has for us. So thank you for sharing those things, Lyndsey. Michael, your experience may be a little different or the same, but just share what it's like for you on that team.
Yeah, I would say very similar in that aspect. So whenever, as a part of the interview team, whenever Andrew shoots me a note, says, hey, you're going to join this interview next Sunday. All right, cool. So first thing I do is typically go check out the resume. Vaguely boring. I can do that. And then go listen to some of their sermons. I tried to listen to at least two before actually sitting down and talking with them. It's honestly a really fun process. I will say it's difficult. I didn't expect it to be this difficult because, in work, I've probably conducted 40 interviews in the last year and a half or so for work, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, I know exactly what they're going to be used for, what have you. But in this role, it's so much more deep, and it's meaningful, and it has to be the right candidate, like we were just saying. And so there is that extra bit of weight. And so it's a beautiful thing that we all get to come together and look at that. And like the list you're looking at, we're all on this platform. And so through the interview panels, through the core team and elder discussions and stuff like that, there's comments, and everyone goes and rates the candidates and puts their comments, and it's really cool to see how we all kind of pick up on the same thing, or maybe there's times where we differ in opinions, and then we can kind of work through it and discuss who's going to be the best fit. So I really am appreciative that I'm on this team. I love, being a member. I'm not an elder, and I'm not someone who's on staff. So I love that the church is open about everything. All the names are on the screen. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We may not be able to give you specifics of who the candidate is, but we can definitely talk you through the process, where we're at, how things are looking. And so I love that. And then, I mean, we all know that the Lord's going to bring us the next teaching pastor whenever it's his time, right? His timing is perfect, regardless of what we think we need or want. His timing is perfect. And then in the meantime, we just continue to slum it with bread over here, I guess. Just kidding. Love you, Brett.
Can y'all give it up for slumming it with bread? Hey, one thing I do want to say, like, Michael and Lyndsey are up here, but for every Michael and Lyndsey who are up here, who are incredible people, like, just looking around this room, I could pick several others that are involved in this process who could be up on the stage talking about it. I think about Miss Jane Strack, she's right here in front of me. One of the most discerning people that I know, and watching her in interviews is really cool. So just an incredible group of people doing a ton of work on this, and we'd love for you to join us in praying for this as we move forward.
So if you haven't already, text search to 97000 and you can be a part of the prayer process for this. And like Michael said, reach out to anyone on that list with any further questions you may have.
I just want to say something about slumming it with Brett, because you're making it harder for us. We're like, oh my gosh, all these people applying, and we're like, we've got Brett.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. We do thank you, Brett, and Lyndsey, and your entire family for all that you're pouring into us at the church. Thank you. All right. So the last thing that we'll talk about for a little bit is budget. So we, back in the fall, had a little bit of an update on where we stand as far as giving. And we just want to get an update on that from a few of you. I know, Lyndsey, you're part of the trustee board, and Andrea, I believe you are as well. So we'll just kind of throw it to you all for a little bit of update. We'll start with you, Lyndsey, where we are in our giving.
Okay.
Spending.
Well, thankfully, there's a slide behind me, so these are numbers I didn't have to like commit to the memory here. But we knew that this would be a season, like we anticipated it. It didn't catch us off guard. So proactively, we did slash the budget by 11%, which is a big amount. And that means that in order to meet that budget, like on a week-to-week basis, we need to be bringing in $44,500 every week. So currently, the current reality is that we bring in $39,200. But what's awesome is that the actual spending that's happening is coming in under the budgeted spending, the cut budget spending. So that's allowing us to be in the black. That's allowing us to be sustainable for this season, which is a season. It's a season where ministry is still happening, and we're waiting.
Yeah, I think, so I'm the staff representative in all this, so I get to spend a ton of time looking at it. But the thing I tell y'all is that there's a group of 5 men and women in our church, Lyndsey's one of them, who serve as our trustees. I met with them on Thursday. We meet once a quarter plus, I guess is the way to say it. And the thing that I can tell you about that, and it's really an incredible thing, is that I remember the first time I stepped into a trustees meeting, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was, I was super intimidated, right? Like, I'd never been in a trustee room, and I expected it to be this very business-minded numbers mentality, and my mind was blown when I walked in and walked out, and the heart of the people in that room is ministry, and seeing the resources that God has given us as a church used to help people come to Jesus. And even in the midst of hard times like now, where it's a little bit slower and lower than maybe what we're used to, that mindset hasn't changed. And that's a really, really cool thing. And so y'all, when you see these people, thank them for the work that they do, because it's really something incredible. But the other reason why we put their names up here is because one of the things, unfortunately, in the world that we live in, there's a lot of distrust of organizations and nonprofit organizations, churches, all of that, because a lot of sketchy stuff has happened, you know? And so the reason we introduce you to these people is because they're real people who have access to everything. They see it all. But on top of that, there's other things that we do to enable transparency in the resources that are here. We're accredited by an organization called ECFA. It's the Evangelical Council on Financial Accountability. It requires that every single year we go through a third-party audit. So Don Horton, Don is in here somewhere. Don, who is our financial administrator, gets to hang out with an auditor for months on end, which is super fun for her. But that's a part of that transparency thing. ECFA accreditation is something that's only held by like 2 or 3 churches in Arkansas. So it's a big deal. It's an important thing that's part of our transparency. And then on top of that, like, I like people, and I'll give you access to everything. Like, if you want to come talk to me, not everything, but if you want to come talk to me about how we operate within the context of financial stuff in the church, I'm a pretty open book about it because we have a lot of really cool safeguards, guidelines, practices, controls in place to ensure that the resources that God gives this church are used for the purpose of ministry. So my email's on the screen. If you want to holler at me, set something up, like let's hang out, get coffee, and we'll talk for sure. Because it's a big deal, but it's an opportunity that we have as a church to, Eric said it this morning, to be open-handed towards God. And so we're all about that.
I love that. It's something that we're called to do as believers. That's something that we get to do. It's something, it's an act of our worship back to the Lord for all that He's given us and blessed Him with. So, I know that we all have, even in our own lives, personal struggles and times that maybe it's a little harder to give than others. But I can personally say too that I know that we hear it all the time. But when you hear the saying of when you're faithful with what God has given you, when you're faithful with a little, He blesses you with a lot. It's true. It really is. And I've lived that personally. So we encourage you all. We thank you for your continued budgeted generosity. And just encourage you to continue with that as well. We know the Lord will continue to provide in that aspect of our ministry. And we love that all of you, that like you're here in this room because you love Grace Point. We're glad you're here, and we appreciate that. We appreciate all the people that are continuing to give up their time and energy, talents, service, just to continue making Grace Point the great, wonderful place that it is.